The attack on Stalingrad commenced in September 1942 with massive bombing raids, which reduced 80% of the city to rubble. The battle then descended into one of World War II's most brutal encounters. Individual streets and houses were contested for in hand-to-hand combat, in what the Germans called Rattenkrieg, or Rat War. Operation Lightfoot was launched, the initial phase of the Second Battle of El Alamein. Outnumbering the Afrika Korps 2-to-1 in manpower, tanks and artillery, Montgomery wore down the enemy in what he promised would be a dogfight. After a few weeks, Rommel was forced to withdraw in a major defeat that cost him 60,000 men and 500 tanks. At the same time as the Sicilian invasion, the largest tank battle in history was taking place on the Russian front. The Battle of Kursk began on July 5, 1943, lasting 8 days. The Red Army's T-34 tanks, with their skilled and courageous crews, achieved an important victory. The Nazis needed to ensure there was no repeat of the years of starvation Germans suffered during World War I. Ration cards, colour-coded for each food item, such as red for bread, had been printed and stored prior to the war. Clothing and shoes were rationed on a system that allocated each person 250 points per year. By the end of 1942, 10 million British women had registered for war work. They built aircraft, ships and vehicles, worked on the railways and in the metal and chemical industries. Nurseries and flexible working hours allowed women with small children to contribute. Their pay was roughly half that of men. The landing beaches were codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno and Sword. Beginning at 6:30 a.m. on Utah, landing craft ferried troops ashore. Warships provided supporting fire, bombing shore batteries and enemy positions inland. The passing of the Nuremberg Laws in September 1935 deprived Jews of citizenship. People defined as Jews could be barred from employment as lawyers, doctors or journalists. Jews were prohibited from using state hospitals and could not receive state education past the age of 14. Soviet troops entered Berlin from the east on April 21st. They met stiff resistance as they advanced through the shattered city street by street. Germany accepted unconditional surrender at a ceremony in Rheims, France, followed by another in Berlin the next day, May 8, VE Day.
Signed the act of unconditional surrender.
Hitler, Goebbels and Himmler had committed suicide, leaving the remaining 21 to face trial at Nuremberg. The defendants were charged with conspiracy to wage aggressive war, crimes against peace, crimes against humanity, and war crimes.